They were two strangers, bound by pain. In a city where they came to heal their broken hearts, they found a glimmer of hope in each other. They promised to meet again in 2 days. But their second meeting would not be over a glass of wine. It would be at the end of a desperate search, after a single phone call ended with a scream. Welcome to the Everyday Hero. In this episode, we'll tell a story of how heroism is sometimes born from a fierce loyalty to someone you barely know. Tell us in the comments what city you're joining us from. And if you believe friendship is the greatest superpower, be sure to subscribe. Maya looked out the window of her small apartment in Lisbon. The city was foreign and indifferent. In her hand was a faded photograph of her and her father, the man's military uniform, his proud smile. Maya had lost her father a year ago, during an operation. She hadn't just lost her father, she had lost her hero, her mentor, her only anchor in life. Unable to bear the city filled with his memories, she had left everything behind and come here, to the windy shores of Portugal. Her grief had become like armor, a cold, distant armor that kept people away. In another neighborhood in the city, Layla touched the old piano that had belonged to her husband. Her fingers traced the keys, but she didn't dare press down to make a single note. Her husband, the love of her life, had been taken by a sudden illness 6 months ago. Every street they had laughed on, every song they had listened to together, had now turned into an instrument of torture. She, too, had found herself in this foreign city to escape the memories. Her grief, however, was fragile, a river ready to overflow from her eyes at any moment. That night, fate brought these two wounded souls together in a small bar in Alfama, where fado music played mournfully. They were both alone, sitting at their tables. Perhaps thanks to their shared loneliness, their eyes met for a moment. A slight smile, a nod, and minutes later, they were at the same table, clinking wine glasses. They talked until morning. For the first time, they told their stories to someone who didn't judge their pain. Maya spoke of how her father had taught her to survive, to be strong, but how weak she actually felt without him. Layla spoke of how her husband's laughter used to pierce the silence in their home, and how that silence was now crushing her. That night, they became a balm for each other's wounds. As they parted, Layla's eyes were shining. 2 days from now, she said hopefully, same place, same time. Let this be our tradition. Maya smiled, a genuine smile for the first time in years. A tradition, she repeated. I like the sound of that. 2 days later, Maya's heart beat with a light excitement as she picked up her phone. She called Layla. The phone picked up on the second ring. Hello? Came Layla's cheerful voice. I'm getting ready. I'll be out in a minute. I found this beautiful place. Her sentence was cut short. Maya heard muffled sounds from the line, a scuffle, a foreign, gruff male voice. Then Layla's voice, but this time not cheerful, but filled with terror. Help! Let me go! Don't touch me! Help! A scream. The sharp sound of a phone clattering to the floor. And then, silence. The line went dead. Maya froze, the phone still pressed to her ear. Her mind went blank for a second. Layla? Layla? No answer. In that moment, something inside Maya changed. The numbness created by her pain and grief shattered into a million pieces. It was replaced by an ice-cold, sharp focus. The words her father had told her years ago during training echoed in her mind. Panic is the enemy's best friend, kid. Even in the worst moment, you breathe, you observe, you think, then you act. The lost expression on Maya's face vanished. Her eyes narrowed like a hunter's. She was no longer a grieving daughter. She was her father's daughter, and her friend was in danger. First, Maya reported it to the police, but the indifference in the officer's voice on the phone told her she didn't have a single minute to wait. This wasn't their priority, but it was Maya's only priority. Her father had always told her, "The best intelligence is at the scene." She quickly went to the small boarding house where Layla was staying. The door had been left ajar during the struggle. Inside, the room was a mess. Instead of panicking, Maya stood at the entrance and scanned the room, just as her father had taught her. She looked for details a normal person would miss. Her eyes caught a beer coaster under the bed. On it was written, "Toca da sombra," the touch of shadow. It was one of those cheap bars in the city's unsavory port district. This was the first clue. Maya headed for the address. As she walked through the narrow, dark streets of the port district, another of her father's lessons was in her mind. Never focus on the target, focus on your surroundings. Danger always comes from a blind spot. She was no longer a grieving traveler. She was a soldier on a mission. When she arrived at Toca da Sombra, she didn't barge in. She watched from across the street. Finally, she showed the bartender a photo of Layla. Fearfully, the bartender mentioned the men who had taken Layla towards the old, abandoned warehouse number 7 at the port a few hours ago. When Maya reached the warehouse, she again did not rush. She moved like a shadow around the building, looking for a weak spot. She found a rusted window latch on the second floor. Her father had taught her how to climb, too. Using a drain pipe and cracks in the wall, she silently reached the window and slipped inside. Inside, she saw 3 men and Layla, tied to a chair. Maya's mind was racing. "Never get into a fair fight," her father used to say. "You start and end the fight before the enemy even knows it's begun." Her first target was the man by the door. She dropped on him from above. Before the other 2 could understand what was happening, Maya grabbed an iron pipe and struck the second man's knee. As the man screamed in pain, Maya moved on the third. This wasn't a dance like in the movies. These were the brutal and effective movements of someone trained to survive. After a short and savage scuffle, all 3 men were on the floor, motionless. She immediately ran to Layla, untied her ropes, and removed the tape from her mouth. Layla, trembling and crying, hugged her. How did you find me?" Maya took her friend's face in her hands. "I made you a promise," she said. "This was supposed to be our tradition." When the police arrived at the warehouse, the 2 women were long gone. That night, in Maya's apartment, they sat in silence as they tended to their wounds. Layla finally broke the silence. In her eyes, there was no fear, but admiration. "Your father," she whispered. "He didn't just teach you how to defend yourself. He also taught you loyalty." Maya looked at her father's photograph. Her eyes welled up. "No," she said. "I learned loyalty from you. My father just gave me the strength to protect it." That night, 2 broken souls became each other's hero. One found the courage to put aside her pain and protect. The other gave her a reason to fight again, someone to be strong for. The legacy of Maya's father was not the fighting techniques he had passed down. The real legacy was the unwavering loyalty and protective instinct he had planted in his daughter's heart. And that legacy had come back to life that night, to save someone he had never even met. Heroism is sometimes born from our deepest grief. When we lose, we understand how far we can go to protect what is left. The strongest bonds are forged in shared wounds, and a true friend is the one who gives you the strength to fight again. Thank you for watching The Everyday Hero. If you believe that friendship is the greatest heroism of all, Subscribe to our channel. We'll see you in the next story.